All right, students, welcome back for another installment of America, Ideas, Facts, and Opinions. This time we're going to talk about young people in America. And I have some data. It's kind of a lot of information to share with you, so we're going to take it kind of slow here, all right? All right, so freedom and young people in America. Well, some questions come to mind, right? First of all, you might be wondering, are young people in the USA in pursuit of happiness? Are they getting married? Are they moving out of mom and dad's house? Are they buying their own home? Are they going to college and graduating from university? Before we get started, I need to give you the names of the generations in American society, depending on when they were born in the US. All right, let me introduce them to you. The first ones, the oldest people in America, are those who are born before 1945. So they're like 75 years old or older. And they're called the silent generation. Next are the baby boomers. Baby boomers are people who were born between 1946 and 1964, which means they're about 56 to 74 years old. That's my generation. I'm a baby boomer, all right? So, silent generation, baby boomers. Next are Generation X. Those are people between the ages of 40 and 55, born between 1965 and about 1980. And finally, the Millennials. The Millennials are the group of Americans born between 1981 and 2000. So they would be somewhere between 20 to 39 years old. This talk is all about the millennials. In the United States, in 2019, we've got 72 million millennials and about 72 million boomers. We've got 65 million Generation X, 23 million of the silent generation. Over the next several years, over the next 25 years, you can see most of the workforce in America will consist of millennials. So they're a very important age group. They're different in their ways of thinking from Generation X and boomers and the silent generation. Next, freedom and young people in America. It's important for you to know that Americans are moving at historically low rates because millennials are staying put. Maybe you remember a couple of weeks ago, I gave you a homework assignment about young people in America, which people are movers or which people are stayers, people who stay close to where mom and dad raised them. And if you'll take a look here, it says that millennials are less likely to move than prior generations of young adults. Millennials in 2016, only 20% said that they moved within the previous year. So millennials are staying closer to where mom and dad are than other generations before them. They're not mobile. Young adult mobility is at the lowest level in 50 years. Take a look. In 1963, this is like Showa Sanju Hachi, né? So 26% of Americans were moving. And now only 20% of Americans are moving. There's a generation of millennials who are not moving so far away from the city where mom and dad raised them. So I think the question we have to ask is, what keeps millennials from moving? And the answer is, I'm sure that there are several answers, but I want to focus on 3 points. One is marriage. Another one is buying or owning a home. And the last one is education. So let's look at these each one by one. All right, freedom and young people in America. What keeps millennials from moving? First thing is marriage. Take a look at this graph. Here, this is information about ages at which people get married in America. Look at the silent generation down here. 78% of Americans in 1965, between the ages of 21 and 36, were married. Over the years, in 1985, less. In 2001, less. Millennials, only 37% of millennials, people between 21 and 36 years old, are married. That's a tremendous difference between the silent generation and the boomers and the millennials. Millennials are less likely to be married than previous generations were when they were the same age. All right, that's point number one. Next thing, what keeps millennials from moving? Owning a home, buying a house. In 2016, only 37% of millennials, people between 25 and 35, owned a home. Compare that with 1981. 56% of people between 25 and 35 owned a house in 1981. So you see that many millennials are not homeowners like the previous generations were at their age. Let's take a look at this graph here. Young adult home ownership over the last 15 years. The green line here shows us Americans, millennials, from 25 years old to 35 years old. Millennials who own a home. And the red line are millennials who rent a home. And down here, other living arrangements. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means. It could be that they are living at home with mom and dad, or they are, living at a friend's house, or I'm not sure what this means. But you can see that from 2005 to 2017, that the number of millennial homeowners has drastically fallen. And the number of people who are renting has increased quite a bit. So what it means is that Americans between the ages of 25 to 35 are not owning homes, they're renting homes instead. Why? Well, just like in Japan, it's expensive to own a home. Look, a home could be as much as $400,000 or $400,000 or $500,000. That's $500,000. So the average price of a new home is much higher now than it was 50 years ago. And so a lot of people can't afford a down payment. A down payment usually is about 20%. So if you want to buy a home, you have to have 20% of the price of the home in order to get that home. If a house costs $400,000, that means you have to come up with $80,000. That's 800,000 yen. That's a lot of money. Do you have 8 million yen in your bank account? Most young people do not have 8 million yen in their bank accounts or $80,000. So Americans can't afford a down payment. Also, there are lots of Americans who don't qualify to get a bank loan. Why? Well, maybe their income isn't good enough, or maybe they have a bad credit rating. So most millennials are single and they're not homeowners. All right, the last one. Are they living with their parents these days? The answer is yes, more than before. Take a look at this graph. Millennials in 2016, 15% of millennials were living at home with mom and dad. Now, compare that with 1981, where you had only 8% of 25 to 35-year-olds living at home with mom and dad. In 1981, 8% of young people were living with mom and dad. And in 2016, 15% were living at home with mom and dad. So almost 2 times as many millennials are living with their parents now than their parents were when they were their age. Okay, finally, what keeps millennials from moving? Last thing is education. Generally speaking, if you've got a good education, you'll likely move out. So take a look here. It says 20% high school, 16% less than high school. So this means that 36% of the 25 to 35-year-old people living at home had only a high school degree or less. While on the other hand, 10% of 25 to 35-year-olds had finished university. In short, if you've got a university education, you are more likely not to live at home with mom and dad. All right, so now it's time for you to do the questions. And thank you very much for watching this video. Check it out. This is absolutely the millennial theme song. They're all stressed out.